So, welcome to our stretch to split class. So, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to find stretches for our right split, left split, and our middle split. You have a blanket set to the side just for support underneath your knees, and we're going to go ahead and get started standing. So once you're standing up, just take your feet parallel, hip distance apart, stand up nice and tall. Give me a big inhale, reach your arms out to the side and up. As you exhale, flip your palms and start to roll the spine down, hands coming to the mat. Now, if your hands are not touching the mat today, bend your knees until they do. So ground down through your hands, give me a little shake of the head, little yes, little no. Just release some of the tension in your neck. And as we're holding here, each time you exhale, see if you can straighten the legs out just a little bit more. So you're going to be feeling that stretch through the hamstrings, through the calves, that whole back side of the leg. Now we're going to take a few half lifts here just to lengthen out a little bit more. So as you inhale, straighten through your legs, float your hands to your shins, and flatten out your back. Take your gaze forward. Exhale, release it back down. Inhale, hands to the shins, lengthen the spine. And exhale, release it down. So continue to find that half lift just to your own pace of breath. Think about your tailbone reaching back behind, crown of the head reaching forward. Once again, you want to feel that length through the backs of the legs. Let's do 2 more here. Last one here. Release it all the way back down. Bring your hands back to the mat. See if those legs are just a little bit longer here. Once again, release the head, release the chest, and then soft bend in your knees. Slowly restack your spine. Head is last to lift. Walk your feet out wider than hip distance. Let your toes turn out in opposite directions. Give me a big inhale here. As you exhale, bend through the knees and bring your hands right on top of your knees. So you're in a little squat. So head up, chest up, tailbone is reaching down towards your mat. Now from here, drop your right shoulder down, twist and gaze over the left. So as you're holding in this twist, I want you to really think about using your hands to press those knees open. So especially that right inner thigh, think about pressing that right palm into the knee, pressing that knee back. Go ahead and bring it back through center, take it the opposite way. So left shoulder's rotating forward, right shoulder's rotating back. Both legs are feeling the stretch, but you're feeling it more through that left inner thigh. Bring it back to center. Let's do one more either side. So twist it to the left. Right shoulder's down. It's actively pressing your right knee back. Bring it back through center. Hips are still down low. Take it to the right. Now from here, bring it back to center. Float your hands to the mat. Release your head down. Inhale, extend the legs. So I want you to think crown of the head reaching down towards the mat. Exhale, bend your knees, bringing it more into that squat position. Inhale, lengthen, extend. Crown of the head goes down towards your mat. Exhale to bend into that squat. So every time as you exhale, you're taking that squat a little bit lower, trying to pull your tailbone down. Each time you inhale to extend the legs, you're bringing the crown of the head down towards the mat. Now let's go ahead and do 2 more here. Now on this last one, take your squat, hold. You might have to walk your feet in a little bit closer. Find your balance, bring the hands together at heart center, and find your yoga squat here. So tailbone is reaching down to the mat, palms come together at heart center, elbows are actively pushing those knees open. So it is a huge hip opener here, huge inner thigh stretch. Make sure you're breathing. So no matter where your squat is finding you today, think tailbone going down towards the ground, head and chest lifting, elbows pressing those knees back. Now hands are going to reach down for your mat, so if you need to bring your squat closer to the mat, you can. From here, we're going to start to shift the weight side to side. So you're keeping it low in your squat. As you shift the weight into one foot, extend through the opposite leg. So make it big, but try to keep the tailbone as close to the mat as you can. Now, if you want a little bit more work, you guys can also take your hands out of the equation, and you can do this with your hands hovering. It's just a little bit more work. All right, let's do one more either side. Last one here. And go ahead and carefully sit yourself down on your mat. Now we're going to continue with our hip openers. So we're still working towards that middle split to start. Bring the soles of your feet together. So you're in your butterfly shape. Soles of the feet together, knees bent out wide, and then sit up nice and tall. Inhale, take the arms out to the side and up. Exhale, hinge it forward. Bring your hands down to the ground. Release the head and chest. So as we hold here in your butterfly, I want you to think about length. So instead of rounding through your spine, I want you to think about lengthening through the spine as those hands are reaching out long in front of you. Gaze is down and forward. So not only should you feel the stretch through the hips, through the inner thighs, you should also be feeling this through your back. So once again, make sure you're finding a length of the spine, not a rounded position. So reaching instead of curling. All right, you guys, go ahead and walk the hands back up. You can bring your hands under the knees, release your butterfly stretch, grab your blanket. So we're gonna come into our frog position, and you're gonna want support under the knees on this one. So make your blanket into a long folded position. So like hot dog style. So you got your long folded blanket. You're gonna bring your knees underneath that blanket. Hands are gonna go out in front. So you're in tabletop essentially here to start. So from here, walk your knees out wider. So they're about mat distance. Now your feet, right now the tops of your feet are on the mat. Rotate so the inner part of your arch is on the ground. So inner part of the arch is on the ground, so the outer edge of your foot is now rotated up towards the ceiling. Now from here, as much as feels comfortable for you, you slide the knees out a little wider and release your hips down. Now elbows can come onto the mat if that feels okay, and head and chest can release. So everybody's different here. You're only taking this pose as deep as it feels comfortable for you. So frog, in my opinion, is one of the most intense hip openers that you can find. So make sure that you're only pushing yourself to where you feel comfortable. You're not overdoing it. And of course, since we're holding in this intense pose, you want to make sure you're breathing. Each time you exhale, think about releasing a little bit more. So if those knees are starting to slide out a little wider, let them. Let yourself drop deeper into the stretch. Especially if you're finding that deep connected breath down low in the belly. You'll feel the muscles start to relax, and you'll feel yourself drop a little deeper. Let's do one last breath here. Now we're gonna get out of this really carefully. So stay where you are, just press back up onto your hands. So palms are back onto the mat. Carefully slide your knees towards one another and then you can sit back on your heels. All right, you guys, that blanket can go off to the side again. Have a seat. We're almost ready to take that middle split here. We're just gonna do a couple more things. So we're gonna take those legs out wide into your straddle. So as wide as you can take the legs, find that position, and then we're up nice and tall. So you're up tall from your sits bones, legs are out wide, feet are flexed. Now from here, right elbow is gonna come to the inside of the right inner thigh. You're gonna inhale, sweep that left arm up and over by the ear and hold. So obviously you're feeling the hips open, but it is a nice little lateral bend. You should feel a nice stretch through that left side body. Last big inhale here. Exhale, bring it back up. Left elbow down. Inhale that right arm up by the ear. Inhale it here. Exhale, bring it back up to center, hold. Now from here, your entire torso, rotate to your right. So it's not just the head turning, it's your entire torso shifting to the right. You should feel that shift through your torso. Take the arms up by your ears, give me a big inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, hinge it towards that right leg, nose to the knee. So consistently think about pulling the left shoulder down, nose being pulled towards that right knee, hands are wrapped around the calf, ankle, or the foot. Last big inhale here with your exhale, arms back up by the ears, lift it up nice and tall, and let's immediately go to the left. So twist the torso, inhale nice and tall, exhale, fold it over that left leg. So consistently pull that right shoulder down, nose towards the knee. Last big inhale here. Exhale, lift, lengthen, come back up to center, release your arms. Now keep it in your straddle. We're gonna do your middle split 2 ways. So we're gonna do chest towards the floor here, and then we're gonna come up from a higher position. So make sure you're in your widest straddle. Think about rotating your hips back. Feet are staying flexed. Inhale, lift the arms up. Reach, reach, reach. Now as you exhale, hinge from your hips. Lengthen your spine as much as you can. Reach, lengthen, and then release the hands down to the mat or to the ground. Walk your hands away from your body and release the head and chest towards the ground. Now we are going to hold here for a minute, so make sure that you're breathing. So I know that holding in these intense positions is really hard. Relax your eyes closed, find your breath. So making sure that those inhales are coming from the belly, traveling up through the ribs, finally reaching your chest, and then release, chest, ribs, belly. Now just like earlier in that frog position, each time you exhale, you'll feel your body relax a little. And you'll feel yourself be able to go into that stretch a little deeper. Surrender into the pose. Just a few more deep breaths here, you guys. All right, nice and slow. Walk the hands back towards the body. Bring your hands underneath your knees. Give the little help as you bend and bring the legs together. Shake it out. Now, once again, we are gonna go from that middle split, one other position, and then we'll start working on our sides. So come up onto your knees. Once again, so instead of seated, we're gonna come from a higher position and drop down into them. So from here, you're on your knees, hands are gonna come onto the mat. So we're gonna carefully slide out one leg at a time. So you're in that wide leg forward fold, legs are long. You're gonna be extremely careful as you start to slide the legs out wider, dropping your hips down towards the mat. Hands can stay down or come onto your elbows and hold. So once again, I know it's a tough one to hold, you guys, just breathe. Let your hips release down towards the mat. Now press back up onto your hands and sit it back in that straddle position. All right, you guys, bring your hands back underneath your knees. Go ahead and bring those legs together. Shake them out a little. All right, you guys, so we are done with the middle. We're gonna go to right and left. So let's go ahead and have your blanket close by. We are gonna have some time on the knees here, so you don't have to use it, it's just there for support. So bring your blanket about halfway back on the mat for the knees, and then we're gonna come onto hands and knees. So once you're on hands and knees have that support with the blanket, let's go ahead and step the right foot forward. So you're stepping your right foot in between the hands, left knee is still on your blanket. Now from here, curl your left toes under, pop the knee up and off that blanket, and find your runner's lunge. So where you want to be, you want to have your right knee stacked above your right ankle, hands framing that right foot, left leg is long behind. Now here in a minute, we're going to take it from runner's lunge into our pyramid pose. So left leg is going to stay long. Right leg, you're going to start to shift the weight back. So you're extending through the right leg. Now you might need to adjust your stance a little bit. I need to scooch my left leg closer. You want to have your left heel on the mat. Right leg is long and you're pulling your nose towards your right knee. Now what is key with pyramid pose is your hips. So what you want to feel is opposition. Right hip is pressing back, left hip is pressing forward. So right hip pressing back, left hip pressing forward, nose towards the knee. Hands are just framing that right foot. So you should feel a deep stretch through the back of that right leg, but I want you to keep focus on those hips. Now from here, we're going to slide it back into that runner's lunge. So pick your left heel up, bend your right knee, find that runner's lunge. Now from here, let the left knee connect back onto your blanket. So left knee is on the blanket, right knee is still bent in front. Let your left foot come flat onto the mat. Bring both hands to the inside of the right foot. Maybe scoot your right foot a little bit closer towards the right edge of the mat. And then bend your elbows. Bring it into lizard. So elbows come down onto the mat if that feels okay. Right knee is pressing out and left leg is relaxed on the mat. So you've got that deep hip opener through the right, and you should also feel the top of the left leg start to fire here. You should feel stretch through the quad. Go ahead and press back up onto your hands. Bring that right foot back to the center, hands framing your right leg. Now from here, extend the right leg, flex your foot, toes up towards the sky. Now from here, hips are still lifted, release, nose towards the knee. Coming into that little half split. Now what you can do if it feels okay, is you can start to sink your hips back towards that left heel. Right leg is still straight and hands can wrap around that right calf, ankle, or foot. Now if you sunk that weight back, go ahead and bring it back up. So hips are lifted, you're in that half split once more. Go ahead and bend back into that right leg, and then we'll step that right knee back. So both knees back on the blanket. We're going to do the same thing on the left side. So both knees on your blanket. Find your tabletop position. Step the left foot forward. It's in between your hands. And then from here, curl the right toes under, pop that right knee up, and you're in your runner's lunge. So left knee stacked above the ankle, right leg is nice and long here. All right, now from here, we're gonna slide that left hand to the inside of the right. It's meeting that right hand. Shift your left foot a little bit wider out to the side. And then go ahead and release that right knee down. Curl the toes under so your foot is flat on your mat, and bring the elbows down so that you're coming into that lizard position. So you've got that hip opener through the left, you've got that right quad starting to lengthen. Go ahead and bring those hands back, slide that left foot back to center. Pop that right knee back up, holding that runner's lunge. You're gonna start to shift the weight back into that right heel. Extend your left leg long and find your pyramid pose. Now remember, that right leg might need to bump forward a little. Left hip actively presses back, right hip presses forward. So you got that opposition through the hips. Go ahead and start to shift weight back into that left leg. Float your right knee back onto the blanket. Release the toes curled under. Extend your left leg long and find your half split. So hands are still framing that left leg. Left leg is straight. You're flexing that foot, toes up towards the ceiling. Now you can stay here, or that weight can come all the way back to the right heel. Keep the left leg long, nose towards the knee. Go ahead and lift those hips back up. Find that half split once more. And then shift that weight back forward. And then go ahead and slide your left knee back to meet the right. So from here, slide the knees off the blanket. Double up your blanket once more so you've got a nice fat square here. We're going to take pigeon with a little bit of support. So set your blanket off to the side. Come back into that tabletop position. And you want that blanket on the right-hand side. So you've got your fat square on the right-hand side, you're in a tabletop position. Now from here, slide your right knee behind your right wrist. Once your right knee is behind your right wrist, scoot your right foot up so it's reaching towards your left wrist. You got a turnout position. Curl the toes under on your left leg, slide the left leg back behind you, reach for your blanket, and wedge it underneath that right hip so it's a little bit of support. Walk your hands back towards your hips. And lift your head, lift your chest, find a gentle back bend. Bring the head and chest up, hold. We're gonna take a quick quad stretch here and then we'll go into sleeping pigeon. Bend your left knee so your foot is reaching up off the mat. Wrap your left hand behind you to grab and pull your left heel towards your seat. Now if you want a deeper challenge, instead of using the left hand to grab your left foot, use your right hand to grab the left foot. Just a little bit more intense through the quad, through the top of the thigh. Go ahead and release that left foot down, whichever hand is holding it. Left leg is back long behind you, and then use your hands to walk yourself down into your sleeping pigeon. So arms can fully extend. You can release the chest to the mat, or you can keep the elbows bent and release through the head. Whatever's going to give you your best stretch, you should feel it through that right glute and the top of the left leg. All right, you guys, use your hands to walk it back up. Come back up nice and tall, and then go ahead and curl those left toes under. Go ahead and slide that right leg out. Take that blanket off to the side, and now we'll do the left side. So back into a tabletop position, blanket on the left-hand side. Now from here, you're gonna slide that left knee up behind the left wrist. Scoot your left foot behind the right. Curl the right toes under, slide it back. Grab your blanket, tuck it underneath that left hip. Walk your hands back by your hips, come up nice and tall. Now from here, bend into your right knee. Reach that right hand around to pull your right heel in towards your seat. So you're getting that little quad stretch. Now remember, if you want a little bit more, you can use the opposite hand. So you can use the left hand, pulling that right heel in. Release that right foot, whichever hand was holding it. Sit up a little bit taller, and then release it into that sleeping pigeon. So elbows and hands, walk away, drop your head and chest down. Last big inhale here. With your exhale, use your hands to walk it back up. Curl the right toes under, slide that left leg out. Set your blanket to the side. All right, you guys, we have made it to our final splits, which we're gonna hold. So we're gonna start on the right side. So when we do our right split, your right leg's gonna be straight out in front of you, your left leg is gonna be long behind. If you want the blanket for support under the left knee, you can go ahead and find that. So just put your blanket like normal on your mat. All right, so here's how we're gonna do this. Come into tabletop, so knees stacked under the hips. Step that right foot forward, just like we did with our runner's lunge. Curl the left toes under, lengthen the leg back behind you. Extend your right leg out, and then sink your hips down. So from here, head up, chest up, hands are framing that right foot, and you're just holding. Breathe as you hold. If you need to, close your eyes, go to your happy place, whatever you gotta do. Just a few more deep breaths here, you guys, stick with me. All right, now carefully, put some pressure into your palms. Bend that right knee back in and go ahead and step it back. All right, so let's do the left hand side. So both knees are back on your mat, hands are forward, you're in that tabletop position. Step that left foot, take it in between the hands, curl your right toes under, pop the right leg up so you're in that runner's lunge. Now from here, extend your left leg out in front, extend your right leg behind, sink your hips down, and find that split. Make sure you're breathing. Especially as you exhale, release a little bit deeper. One last big breath here. Put some pressure into your palms, then slide that left leg forward, and then sweep it back. Both knees on the blanket. Find your child's pose position. Release the head and chest down. Stretch those arms out long. Go ahead and shift your weight up towards your hands, back onto hands and knees here. Inhale, lift the head, lift the tailbone, let your belly drop. Exhale, tuck the chin, round your spine. Inhale, lengthen it out. And exhale to round. Just give me a few rounds of cat-cow breathing here. Just starting to slow down through the breath. Bring it back to a neutral spine, curl the toes under, shift your hips up and back. Find that downward dog position. Maybe pedal out through the feet if that feels okay. Bending into one knee, letting the opposite heel sink. Whenever you're ready, walk your hands back towards your feet. Find your forward fold. Last big inhale here, and with your exhale, slowly restack your spine. Head is the last thing you lift. All right, you guys survived. Thank you so much for joining me.